Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to That Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined, as always, by Jose Fuentes.
Hello, everybody.
And David Rios.
Hello.
And tonight we're going to be talking about how to make it in comics, what that really means, and then the process they're on if you're just starting out industry, so you can know your major points along the way. But first, as we always do, as creators, our entire life pretty much is regurgitating that which inspires us, amuses us, and creating some sort of pastiche along the way. So, Jose, what have you been reading, watching, or playing this week?
So, funny, I started reading DC Who's Who. It's a comic book that came out in like the late 80s. And I used to have, like, if you think over the course of my life, I've had like several, like 3 or 4 times. And I think I may, as a whole, have had all of them, but never all of them at once. So I started making a list, and now I'm working on trying to collect them all and just going through them again. And they're just a great source of like classic, like Silver Age, DC comic, like heroes and characters and whatnot. Like their backgrounds, their powers explained and stuff like that. I grew up on it and I love it.
Nice. And David, what about yourself?
I have not turned the TV on in well over a week, so nothing on TV. I've just been working on this book and reading more of the Krakoa stuff.
Nice.
And just coming along on that. And no games either, though I am a little shocked at the news of the $700 PlayStation 5 Pro without a disk drive. I've always been a big PlayStation fan.
Sure.
But I do have Xbox and stuff. I have a lot of gaming systems. So it's a little surprising that it's going to be so much, but it is what it is. Either that'll work or not. I mean, if you kind of think back to like the PlayStation 3, I think the original one was somewhere around $600.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then you had like the I don't know if you remember this, but like the Panasonic 3DO that came in at about a $700 or whatever price tag initially, and then they pretty much dropped it in half.
I was gonna say it dropped significantly.
Yeah, I do have one of those too. So
nice.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's been a weird week for PlayStation news because we got the Pro come out, which is essentially just a graphical update. It's not a whole new system, right?
Mhm.
For the cost of a whole new system, but also they had Concord happen. They had a whole like first party like it was supposed to be like a big deal like arena shooter, hero shooter, and then ends up closing like 2 days after release because it sold all of 1,000 copies.
Yeah, I imagined that well, that may be something that's collector's item. I don't know. It won't do anything. You'll have a disc. That's about it. But they've shut the servers down and everything. But yeah, I was reading some of the news on that. And then we have our couple of losses from yesterday.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of good stuff going on both both of them. So it's great seeing the love pour out on from the community. So but that's mainly been it for me. I do want to hear. I've seen some videos, but I do want to hear a little bit more from Jose about his his con that he spent over the weekend.
Yes.
It was pretty fun. We had several people. John Crowther was there, obviously Roland and BJ, and Brent was there, Haley and Tommy, and my wife actually went, which she doesn't normally go because
I did see. I saw her in one of the videos. It was one of Roland's, and I think it kind of panned over. I also saw. I think it was the same video where Haley was fanning.
That was BJ. BJ was fanning.
That was BJ. Okay.
Yeah.
But because air went out or something like that, right?
No, it was just hot. Like I don't think the air had finally turned on because it was kind of the beginning of the day, so like beginning of the show, and so like the doors were all open so you can get all set up and everything, and so it hadn't quite cooled down yet, and so BJ was just hit this big board. I don't even remember what it was, like cardboard or whatever. She was just like fanning him, like, and it's funny because I met Jeff Whiting there, who he did stuff on the Tick. And I got to meet him, but like he actually got a picture from across the way of BJ fanning roll. Like
amazing.
And what was that?
It was pretty good.
Whole big dinosaur roaming around in the background.
So on Sunday there was a big velociraptor they brought in that was kind of in the corner, like from where we were sitting. It was like where we were sitting was off to the left in the corner. And every so often they would just get it to walk it around on a leash and whatnot. And there were pictures taken of just people like getting pictures taken. I think Haley kind of got a little not freaked out, but like it was definitely like dramatic about it. It was pretty cool. Tom Rope got his arm in there and got a picture of his arm inside the mouth and everything. It's pretty cool. Just walking around freaking kids out.
Similar to the where you see like the 501st and the cosplayers running around with all the droids, just walking the hallways and just doing fan fun stuff.
Heck yeah, it was pretty good.
Oh.
But yeah, I had did pretty good there. Had a couple people that were there the year before that showed up and just, but like I said, it was a pretty good convention. Daytona Beach is probably one of my favorites that I've done so far.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Did you get sell some stuff and get some commissions and stuff like that, or is it?
I did actually. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did pretty good with sales and whatnot, and like I said, met a few people, picked up some stuff from my DC Who's Who comic list. But yeah, like picked up a couple commissions, and like I said, all as a whole, it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, good, and I'm sure I'm hoping that Roland did pretty well too, and pretty good. So cool.
I'm pretty sure everybody Roland talked to, he knew already. I'm telling you, that man knows everybody.
I'm pretty certain that a person worked in comics at all in the 80s or 90s. Roland, in either Malibu, New York,
Right.
or Florida, Roland knows them.
Listen, I tell him every time, it's like, you know everybody. He's like, I don't know everybody. Haven't been proven wrong yet.
Oh.
So, just saying, Hefe, you know everybody.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Thanks for sharing your experience that you had.
It was very fun.
As for myself this last week, I have started earnestly watching Adventure Time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen episodes here and there.
Or-
Yeah, so I've seen
Again.
episodes here and there, but I've never actually watched it all the way through. So this is my first time actually like watching through the series.
Okay.
Nice.
So if you follow my Instagram, you saw that I did a pen and marker doodle of Finn.
That's what I'm talking about.
And outside of that, haven't really been reading much. I haven't had the mental capacity to read just with work the way it is. The joys of having a day job in comics.
It's amazing how that just gets in the way of everything, isn't it?
Yeah. But I have had a few, hours here and there, or even at work, to play Age of Mythology Retold. They finally put out a remake of the classic strategy game, Age of Mythology. So
Nice.
we found that it's on Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass, and it does the whole cloud streaming thing. So if you have several people in an office during a dead hour and you just want to, everyone has their subscription active.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
Like you were working, I swear.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, if the reports are done, is anyone there to actually see your work?
Right?
Yeah. So that's been what I've been up to.
Nice.
That's how it is, Tim, corrupting your fellow coworkers.
Exactly. No conventions on this end yet, but I am getting ready for ComorCon in Portland in a couple of months. So if you're in the Portland area and are going to ComorCon, come find me in the halls or in the media hall.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. So like I said, tonight's topic is how to make it in comics. So I guess first I'll open this up by saying that not everyone has the I got a pop up there. Okay. StreamYard is dying. Sorry about the delay. Okay. So not everyone has the same definition of thanks, Pops. The same what's I'm thinking of? Not everyone has the same definition of what making it in comics looks like. So some people may have their ideal level of success is having a publication hit so many copies on a run, working on a book for so many years. Having a title through a certain publisher or working on a certain title, if you grew up being like an avid Fantastic Four fan, then your definition of success, like you made it when you've written or illustrated for a Fantastic Four title, right? However, it's going to look different for everyone. I will say that if your definition of success is strictly monetary, I would advise you to look into an industry other than comics.
Look into something else. I know.
Yes.
Some people it's been very, very well for, but that's very limited and very hard.
Yeah.
A lot of a big thing of talent, timing, and a lot of who you know, and opportunities and all that stuff. Unless all the moons line up,
right,
it's very difficult. So.
Yeah, you could always, get very lucky by like just cutting your teeth for a while and kind of grinding it out until you have a moment where your skill and your luck meets the correct opportunity, and then you end up developing a professional connection from there. Or if you really, the way to get like the best monetary success from comics is to have gone to school with an editor at Marvel or DC, and just kind of have that outside of work friendship. Then,
well, I know that, like, and well, I don't 100% know, but maybe Jose can comment. But I'm sure being the training, going through the school, I'm sure had some things to help. Obviously got to put the work in, and and I know that over time Jose has put a lot of work into this, but I'm sure he's probably got some communication, some things that he's that he's developed through being at school, being with other artists, and the exposure that has maybe helped him too.
Nope. I cannot. What to me, what I got out of most wasn't necessarily. I know there were several classmates that they kind of went into it with the idea like I'm gonna get a job with Marvel, I'm gonna get a job with DC directly out of school, right? And there were some people who were like, oh, I want to go to school because I want to be able to network with creators who are my teachers and be able to like have that to fall back on. I went there with the sole purpose of I wanted to learn how to be a better comic book artist. And like, not that there were any secret tips and tricks, but like I guess not necessarily an edge, but what can I learn, right? What don't I know already that I can learn and just take that and move forward. And well, obviously one of the things I learned was to work hard, like keep working. Just like I didn't learn to be a better artist there, other than learning how to like narrate digitally, or not digitally. I'm sorry, narrate with art. You know what I mean? Taking the script and turning it into paneling. But I enjoyed the fact that I gained some friendship. You know what I mean? I can still reach out to some of my teachers and like, hey, will you just look at this? Like, something looks odd to me. Will you take a look at this for me? Like, or what do you think about this? Or if I do this, or if I need any advice in regards to like even like the business aspect, like do you think this would be a good move for me? I can reach out and ask. You know what I mean? I can reach out and say, hey, and it's not like, oh, this is some nobody that we've never met before. You know what I mean? Asking me for advice. It's someone that I've taught, someone I've spent 3 years with every day. You know what I mean? Learning, and just, I guess, building a rapport with them that way. It also helped me to be able to like communicate. I wasn't a very good talker when it came to like like conventions, or even like, I guess, trying to express myself or ask for what I might need, right? Like, hey, this doesn't look right. Can you help me out? Like, I would honestly never say that to someone. Like before I went to art school, but the idea that I could ask for help and people can actually like help, like people can actually like give me advice, and that to me that was huge. You know what I mean? In regards to
Yeah.
like that helping me make it, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I still have some. I still have connections there that I can call up. You know what I mean? I still get emails from our career advisor. You know what I mean? So I've been able to meet with some of my class, or not classmates, but my teachers who've done conventions that I've done, and be able to go up there and talk to them about it, like it's from a a graduate, from a professional artist point of view, because I mean I view myself as a professional artist. I do work, and the way I see myself as being a professional is, can I afford tacos? If the answer is
Yeah.
yes, then I am a success.
Yeah.
So
I know with me it was very hard when I first started. Once I got in, and I started dealing with people, I was able to bounce a lot of ideas off and really develop my own style and all that, and work with creativity, creatives. But like for me, it was very tough. It was a lot of everyday calling, and I had a little bit of exposure because I was in a comic shop that was local to the area, and I had seen, talked to a couple of people here and there that you would come in, but for me, it's like, when I started, I just kind of threw everything to the wind. I went out and bought a Mac, and ended up scanning some of the darker image Macs, black and white, and then just sit there with, and just trying to color those things and do that to just kind of get out there. And like I said, at this point I'd already done some of the inking things and stuff like that. But yeah, it was hard. But then once I actually got in and I was dealing with a lot of the other colorists and all that stuff, you get a lot of kind of bounce off of and you really start to go through and develop your style and all that. So
Yeah. I'll say like someone to kind of like I'll say with going through a writing program, you get a lot of people who go through these kind of programs thinking that they're going to immediately write the next great American novel or sell their next first screenplay out of college to Hollywood. And largely not the case. I originally went into it because I wanted to do freelance work writing dialogue for video games. And just wanted to get better as a writer because I'd already been writing beforehand. And then ended up getting more into getting back into comics as went on the program actually. And then it was that mix of just taking the time to really like dig into my skills and learn what I was uniquely good at or uniquely interested in writing, that I could have that my perspective wasn't cookie cutter with. And then obviously you do make use of professional connections after that, where some of it was just having a connection or instructor there that pushed me to submit short stories to editors and agents and knew like the right emails to start with, until eventually Roland reached back out and was like, I need a publication editor or submissions editor. Do you want a job? So the kind of mix of both the direct connection as well as just taking time to really hone in on my skill there. But I will say that the same level, well, maybe not the same level, but the core skills of learning how to write or illustrate, you could probably start with by teaching yourself, looking at online resources, and then joining a workshop. I'd say the primary purpose, like benefit you get from a college level program, is the professional level connections as well as the professional level critique, because it is this at whole other level. But again, it is that you're still making some use of some part of connection there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
So, like I said at the start there, everyone's idea of making is going to look a little different. I kind of described what we've seen other people, like what their perspectives of making it is. I've said before that my definition of success, which I have now met, and now I need to find a new one, which I already have an idea of how I was looking at, but my definition of success has always been, if I could write a comic that some kid in school could find somewhere and just have 30 minutes of like a good time and like enjoy themselves for 30 minutes, then that I know I've made it. And I found out that my books have actually been put into schools, and that
Nice.
that's happened. I got some fun letters back. So now I'm trying to figure out if I think my next thing is to write a moment, either in some sort of horror, action, or hero sequence, that makes someone state an explicit out loud or tweet at me an explicit and say like, "This is effing awesome." I think that's my next goal. So I'll ask you guys, what is your definition of making it? When do you know that you have found your personal success, and are you already there? Kind of like I said, now it's just a matter of continuing to grow and expand beyond that.
Well, well, for me, it's like, I felt like I made it, back in the 90s, and now it's just, it's just a whole different environment. Along the lines you did mention, you got to work on the book you wanted to do. So like I said, I was lucky enough to, I was at the time a huge X-Men fan, so being able to do, coloring on, covers of X-Men and Uncanny X-Men was like, wow. I got, I got to really play around with some of the Ultraverse books and things like that. And then, doing the 3D, type Fleer cards and stuff like that. It was like, wow, okay. So lucky enough, I did have that, feeling as making it back then. It's a little harder now, just different environment. The independent stuff is nice. There's some cool stuff that I can do. But yeah, like I said, most of mine, that whole feeling of making it was, going through and doing that. And then I've had very limited things on it, being a colorist, you kind of filter into the crowd. But I did, I remember going to a signing and, people were excited to see, to see some of the stuff I was working on and all that. So that was good. But I don't know.
I heard several artists say it, and obviously it was a joke, but like, oh, you made it when someone creates a fake Instagram account in your name. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? So I haven't found mine yet, so clearly I haven't made it yet. But just the idea that for me, the fact that I can sit down and I can work, it doesn't matter like how much money I make doing what I do, as long as I can do what I do. And to me, success is truly, when my kids would tell their friends, "Yeah, my dad's a comic book artist." You know what I mean? And whether their friends believe it or not, I mean, my kid, when I hear my kids are proud about what I'm doing, I'm proud that I work on comics and stuff that they can actually show. Yeah, this is what my dad did right here. To me, that's success. But I have like 87 kids, so
Yeah, the ever-growing family.
I haven't
right.
found a a fake Instagram account either, but I did have I did mention this before. I did have that person who basically took a page that I colored and then recolored it and put their signature on it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's probably the closest I'm going to get to a fake
Right.
Instagram account.
Yeah. I think the equivalent of that is I did find a while ago. I published an anthology of short stories, and a while ago I did find it up on a pirate site.
Oh, so you've been pirated. All right.
Yeah. So I'm sure it was like chock full of malware and like definitely like bricked some people's computers. But someone thought it was worthwhile to make you a fake pirate copy of my book, so that was available for free on Amazon. So
when your work is being used to corrupt other people's computers, you know you
exactly,
made
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Or when your art is being used to spam people's Instagram boxes with bad links.
Right. I mean, I would imagine now maybe when your art has been used for the AI algorithm.
Oh yeah, when an AI just gobbles up your art and spits it out with like 6 fingers,
Right.
and, like, 3 faces. Yeah.
That might be the new success marker now.
Yeah.
Would that be considered, if because Demon has 3 tails, if he's in there and he has 3 tails, that we can almost say that's partially AI generated, multiple tails and things like that? Or do we need to like double it, like 6 or something?
I think you would have to double it. Yeah.
6 or either it'll be 1. Like it'll misread and only do 1 tail.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, kind of after we had this discussion, obviously we've been in this for each of us for a few years now, and different levels of a few years. Of course, David's still being fresh in the game, but the process of getting there, I'm sure for everyone like myself, has been a process of trial and error and constant learning and just trying to knock at every door you can find. Some doors you realize you don't want to go into, other ones are fine. But what has been some of the stories or takeaways you've had from kind of that growing process of starting out in comics or starting out in the creative field in general, maybe even before you really broke into comics and before you hit the point where you've considered yourself as making it? I know for me, that was kind of a moment of writing 2 full novels that will never see the light of day. Before realizing, like, oh, this is not what I want to do necessarily, which is a huge time commitment for something that I do not want to invest in. But
right.
During that process, I learned a lot of things about pacing, developing character backbones, building up my patterns and finding the writing pattern that works for me. Not necessarily like, how do you like set aside the correct amount of time and the correct location and things like that. And while it was, you could look at it as a tremendous waste of time. For me, it's kind of the same thing. Like, people are never going to see my writing homework. I'm never going to publish this, my writing homework, right? So this is just me doing writing homework as an adult, and kind of using those massive failed projects as instead opportunities to really kind of dive into the style, the types of creativity, the elements of creativity that you can only really learn by doing by yourself, and then seeking feedback later. And I feel like a lot of the elements they took into the comics that haven't, or comics and short stories that have been successful, I learned my parts of the elements that I needed for those in that process of writing those two failed novels. So what have been kind of some stories similar from you guys?
I learned, even before art school, there are some books you should probably say no to. Not that I'm not proud of the work I did, right? But I know my limits now. You know what I mean? I definitely won't do this. Like, I won't cross this particular line when it comes to like drawing certain things, or working on a book that does certain things. And that usually goes over fairly well, like as long as you communicate with someone. You have a editor or whatever, like, hey, I got this done. Probably am not going to be able to move on further. I just can't. You know what I mean? And I feel that as long as you like talk about and explain, you know what I mean, it tends to go well. But like, I've definitely learned in the process of like from starting to now, like where my limit of what I'm okay with working on is. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get there. I mean, I feel everyone has to get there. Has to figure out where their threshold is, and I feel I know where mine is now. And that took going through the process of doing works and then doing other works. I'm like, I probably don't want to go back to doing that. I will do other stuff. You know what I mean? I definitely will still work with people no matter what. But like I said, I know where my threshold is.
That's fair.
I had, well, I've done some projects that I normally wouldn't think about doing, and they turn out okay. It's just not really, like Jose said, it's one thing that I just don't think I'd ever really do again. But I've also had other things outside of comics, graphic design related, that I've done that just kind of taught me some lessons on setting boundaries and things like that. If I feel comfortable setting boundaries, things like I had a particular website I was doing some artwork for, and it's like the degrees, amount of changes that were on the fly, that they would, oh, well, we want this. Okay, no, how about this? How about this? How about that? 9-10 different revisions on, and it's like, all right, well, to try and kind of draw a line here, either, it's, we can, I'll give you one more change, one more revision, and then after that we got to start, talking compensation, because this is something that's well beyond. So I learned some aspects on that. As far as the stuff getting into comics and things like that, I had hit, when I was originally trying to get into coloring, I had, put a lot of devotion into getting into it, and then the hiring was done for a while, and it was a matter of, nothing's going to happen, right now. We're full. We've got the people that we need for now, and that was a case where kind of all the stars per se aligned in a different direction. It was the job I was working just fell apart. I had just gotten out of school, and this kind of dried up and all that stuff. And it was on a good side, it was a point where I just had an opportunity to go and just pick up, and I moved out to Texas for 6 months and went completely different direction. I went and I went with temp agencies. I went in the electronic, the soldering and stuff like that. Just completely different from where it was, and I learned a lot. I jumped into that. I was pretty successful at it. Once I got the job, I was like 3 months in, and they wanted me to be in charge of their clean rooms and all this stuff. So I was pretty good at it. But after about 6 months, things started opening again. So I came back to California. But the good thing about that was, not on the negative side, but on the positive side is it was an experience, because my brother and I both met in Austin, and he had everything that he had was what he could carry on his motorcycle, and everything that I had was what I could carry on an airplane to fly there. So it was a 6 month of rebuilding your life and all this stuff, give you a perspective on things. Kind of drove me more when I got back, to really invest and try to make this work, and ultimately it paid off. But it gave me a good perspective. I was always somebody who I could take care of myself, and when I grew up, a lot of times I was, when I was 9, I was by, my dad was working all the time, and it was just him and I. So I learned the whole thing of independence and get up and get yourself to school, do your own homework, do all this stuff. So I was familiar with, living, on my own within this little bubble. But going out there, it's like my brother had a day job, I had a night job. I very rarely ever saw him other than like on the weekends. But it gave me a good perspective and a good growing experience that I could learn from it and come back here. So it was overall, it was a good positive. So
Yeah. Kind of like tailing off what you said there, David. I feel like I'm going to kind of like trail off into two different thoughts here and then try to unify them at the end. I feel like kind of falling off of what you just said there. I think this is something that is fairly well agreed upon by several people and in several creative spaces, that the biggest determiner of people who make it in creative spaces are people who do the work. They just kind of like put their nose to the grindstone and just create whatever they're trying to create and do so again and again and again. However, to quote Brendan Lee Mulligan, I feel like in order to rationalize the world at all and remain sane, you have to believe that a tremendous amount of luck is involved in any success story. And I mean, I feel like it really is that combination of things where Wolf Hunter didn't make it into a school where some kid read it and had a good time. If I didn't meet Roland, if I didn't go to Full Sail, if I didn't see a 15-second YouTube ad at some point while I was attending community college and working at an auto dealer, right? So obviously, like, the right ad at the right place at the right time, like, tremendous amount of luck involved in all of that. Just the right opportunities aligning themselves to give me that chance. But then I spent the time, I'm just tooting my own horn, working and grinding out that book and fleshing out the idea, because that was an idea that's been around in my head for a while before it finally became a comic. And working with Roland on it and like spending hours on this thing. So it is that combination of that get up, take care of yourself, do the thing. So when you have that lucky moment, you're fully prepared to capitalize on it.
Well, I was thinking about your experience that you were talking about with your, couple of novels that you wrote that, that aren't going anywhere or anything. But I have to turn around and say that, from what I've seen a lot with writers, in multiple things, not specifically comics, but I don't think that even those books that you kind of filed as whatever, as kind of written off, I think there's still little pockets,
Mm-hmm.
and it's stuff that one you've learned from to say this didn't work or this did work, but then also you still have the ability that maybe at some time in your life that you may want to revisit these and rebuild them completely different, and go through, because you see a lot of or I've seen quite a few stories with writers that have had an idea that's just been there for 15, 20 years, that's just sitting in the background. They don't do it. They do the stuff to live their lifestyle, make their their current living and all that stuff. But they always bank, and I don't think that any kind of experience that you've learned going through is going to be completely wasted.
Right.
I think there's lots of things that you can pull from that, and maybe it's that leads to a maybe maybe your first book didn't work out, but it brought you an idea of a sequel that's maybe a different round of characters. Example, maybe it's your John Wick didn't work, but the ballerina, which is kind of tied to it, may work.
Right.
That type of scenario where something else may bloom from it. So
I mean, that was let me find the name of this guy. It was Duncan Jones. He had written a movie that never actually got made. So he ended up working with Alex DeCampi, and they created a comic instead called Maddie, and that ended up being like a hugely successful Kickstarter.
there you go.
So it's kind of a whole thing of you spend your time investing in something, and like even if it is a dead project, at some point you still get that. When you develop the correct skills or the correct knowledge of where you want to put it, it'll end up figuring itself out.
Awesome.
So,
Those days deep in thought.
well, I was just thinking, because you were talking about when you had that project, like in regards to like writing, that would be my guess, or that would be creating your own project, your own your own book and whatnot, as opposed. And then David, you said that being successful, you worked on a book that you wanted to work on. You were a big fan of X-Men, and you got to work on X-Men stuff. Like I mean, I printed my own book. I've made I published my own book, but I feel I'm more of a success working on somebody else's,
Sure.
because for me, like for that, like it's somebody wanted to use my art style. Somebody wanted to use my works on their book, and yeah, you test, you audition, whatever you want for stuff like that, because you want to get on a project. But I don't know. I thought it was a success in reaching a goal to make my own comic, but then I felt for me it was a success that somebody liked what I did and they wanted me on their project. Does that make sense?
It's a moment of having someone else kind of like vouch for your work or kind of validate your work. Yeah. Well, of being like put on by someone else. Yeah, definitely. As a writer, I do get that when like an artist is like, oh, I want to work on that script, right? Or when an artist looks at my script and says, oh, I want to work on that. Like you get that same feeling where it's that moment of like, oh, I put something that's worthwhile, right?
Right.
I get the same thing also, just like even at this scale, like being a small print house, thinking about the amount of work that we create to do our book, right? Like writing the scripts, depending on the pace of the writer, it's 4 to 8 hours ish for 22 pages, depending on proficiency. When you look at then the artist, it can take a while depending on proficiency, time availability, whatever. But usually, right, 22 hours is being generous on the light side.
Right.
Inking, coloring, and on top of that, lettering, the printing side of it, the accounting, like that's 7 people plus distribution. So however people are involved in the diamond supply chain. So even just us tinking around with our comics, whatever, at this level, the amount of people that we've then generated work for, it's you get a weird sense of validation. Like I have made impact in the world in a way that is either good or bad, or maybe gives Jose carpal tunnel. But
I do my stretches.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of that a weird sense of that also is kind of a moment where we're going to think back about like in order to get this book to that school for that kid to have their 30 minutes of fun. So many dominoes fell, like it's insane, and I think kind of leads to the next little point I want to hit on is that maybe making it isn't necessarily a singular point, but it's a collection of smaller goals that collect into you feeling like you've had a fulfilling career in comics. And I guess now as I break up the minor in philosophy, right? But because you can have, like I said, you have singular points where you feel like, oh, I've done this, I've made it, but then you always need to have that next goal, otherwise you end up stagnating. And being creatives, the problem is usually we have too many goals and not too few. Usually we're on the other end where you need to realize that like, you have accomplished something, you can't beat yourself up because you've accomplished more than a lot of other people have.
Well, you kind of look at at take Roland as an example. You can turn around and say back in the 90s, Roland made it.
Yeah.
But you can also turn around and say, Roland has gone through and again, multiple times, but now he's got a pretty successful independent company here with Silverline, and I would have to say, that Roland, he made it again, and it's a lot of work from a lot of people, both in front of in front of the camera and behind the scenes. But where do you turn around? Do you just say, in my life, I made it, once, or do you make it, multiple times? If you think of things like example like Dave Filoni, he's, he was, I think he was with ILM initially, if I remember correctly, and for me, it's like, as an artist, if I was like, oh, I was ILM, I'd be kind of, oh, I made it. But then this jump over, to Lucas, with, to, the the Clone Wars stuff, and then now the movie stuff and all that. I think he's continually saying, hey, I'm making it, and he's making it time after time. So, turning around and saying, I made it, can be a one-time thing, and you can, sit there and and live off that one thing, or you can be one of the people that, that continually makes it and does, just keeps going at it. So,
Yeah. I think it's also one of those things where you realize like what your level of, at what point do you feel like you hit a point of satisfaction? Like, do you feel like you need to keep on pursuing something, or is that one moment, the point where like, this is all I wanted to do with this investment? Like, there's plenty of people that have written one book or done one movie or something, and that's like, my good, that's it.
All right, I've met my goal. I'm content.
Yeah.
I've met that particular line of my bucket list.
Yeah. Or, you might be someone like us who is just going to keep on creating until like
Right.
the moment we die, and then hopefully our ghost will keep on writing or something. I don't know.
You keep
Ghost
creating
Rider.
Yeah.
New perspective on Ghost Rider,
Right.
on a Ghost Rider.
We don't care about our health, so we keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like what Roland said to me when he first brought me on was like, we do this because we love working on comics. We love the idea of making comics. We just love the process of making comics, and we want to continue to keep doing it. And doing it, like making comics and being successful, isn't, yes, it can be financially successful, like you said, or, I don't know, I guess emotionally successful, mentally successful. Because as long as I continue to keep working on a project, to me, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? You're doing it, Peter. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's been about all the notes that I have for tonight.
Good timing. We're right at the hour. I mean, we
Right,
usually
yeah.
go over, but
Yeah. I think that we do have, I think 90 minutes is our limit. But yeah, I'll look forward to you guys. Like, is there any thoughts or anything that you have on the tonight's subject that you wanted to cover or discuss or anything like that?
Well, all our millions of viewers that we have, right? Because we want millions of viewers. We are only successful if we have tacos, and so help us get more tacos. Buy our books. Help us validate ourselves to Del Taco, which is opening up soon, Tim.
Yes, and we'll have to do like a Del Taco meet and greet or something.
Dude.
Is there one opening by each of you, or?
There's one opening by me, and I've not had one by me. I think the nearest one to me is, I think maybe Tampa, Sarasota. It's in Sarasota. But like one is literally opening up in my backyard. I think it's the end of the month. I'm going to be there.
Okay, so
We know you love those.
There's a Del Taco in Gresham and Hillsboro. So kind of none either next to the convention center, just on like the far ends of Portland on the outsides of it, or the convention center. So, I'll make the drive. If enough people want to do in the Northwest want to do a Del Taco meet and greet at KimuraCon, we will drive out to the Gresham Del Taco.
Hey, I sent in my application for Emerald City Comic Con, so just know, Tim, I'm camping in your backyard if I get accepted.
Yeah. There's a Del Taco in Vancouver. So,
where's Emerald? Where's Emerald Comic Con?
I believe it's in Seattle.
Yeah.
So we'll do a meet halfway in Vancouver and go to the Del Taco there.
Going to a different country for Del Taco.
Just for Del Taco, yeah.
Which is southern Washington, it's right above Portland.
Ironically, there are 3 in the city I live in.
Nice. Dang.
There used to be 4. That one eventually ended up converting to an Arby's.
Yeah. We do have a Del Taco down here in San. The problem is we don't really have any comics related events, so there's nothing really to pull people down from meet and greet unless they just really want to get Del Taco in Oregon's capital.
I don't know. It's a thing, right?
I guess, yeah.
You got Del Taco meet and greet.
Yep.
There you go.
Del Taco and Silverline. Just know, Del Taco, we're thinking of you.
We are. Okay.
And you have the opportunity to sponsor Silverline. There you go.
Yes. Write into a local representative and ask them to talk to their Del Taco sponsors to partner with Silverline Comics.
I mean, I have a friend who likes to write letters to places, companies, and whatnot. That
There
might
you go.
happen. That would be awesome. Anywho.
If that is all we have, then Dave, did you have any thoughts or anything you wanted to cover, or are you pretty well satisfied with what we've said tonight?
I'm pretty satisfied with what we said. I do have one thing to say. I really do. I'm kind of digging your shirt.
Oh yeah, the Hot Topic anime shirt. Yeah,
I'm like, I can only see the head, but
yeah.
there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
But I'm liking the design on it, you know, and that washed that kind of marker / watercolor type, you know, jumble of colors. I'm really digging that. So
Right. Yeah, it's very eye catching. That's what drew me to it. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, but I'm happy with anything. I don't know. I'm not really seeing any questions or anything. Just some comments in the chat, but not really any questions. So
Yeah.
unless anybody else has any questions, I think we're good. I know that currently the is it the Silverline Christmas special is in the Diamond previews this month,
Yes.
and I know that that's coming to a close. I think somewhere around the 14th, 15th of this month. So if you're interested in those, let your comic shop
You should
know.
get it. I inked in the Kayla's story in it.
Yep. Yeah, I saw your name on there. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cosmac Grandpa says, "I live my whole career. See if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Good show." Yeah, I mean, pretty much like, you know, you can still acknowledge that it's work, right? But if you love what you're working on, then that's kind of a sign that you're doing the thing.
That is a definitely like feeling it in your heart.
Yeah.
You know, philosophy, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But realistically, to me, again, because it's just me, if you love what you do, you work harder at it than anybody that you know because it is what you love. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the difference is you're working hard at it because you love it, right? So yeah, I guess in that same instance, it's not work, but I mean, I don't know. I still think it's work. Like,
Yeah.
but
Even that,
you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm kind of you can acknowledge it's work, and sometimes the work sucks, but you love the work, so
Right.
yeah, very cool.
But
Yeah,
I love what I do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
if
And I never used to be able to say that. And I
yeah,
truly, like I said, I feel that is for me. That is me being successful. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I wake up feeling blessed. I make myself breakfast. I sit at my desk. I work. I feel blessed. I get up and go pick up my kids, and I'm bothered because they interrupted my work. No, just kidding. I do love my kids.
Yeah, I
All
think we
80s.
pretty much figured that out. Another side question: is your daughter still playing around with doing stickers and things like that?
She is. Marching band is kind of in the way of that right now. So like the focus right now is the marching band. And in the marching band program they have, she actually has a solo in it. So that and musical theater is taking over Preston. But like when during spring breaks or any breaks that they have, she still works on her iPad. You know what I mean? Like I said, she taught herself how to animate, on the iPad using my iPad, and I have no clue how to animate on it. And she loves, just loves drawing. She's kind of hung up on Gravity Falls right now, but
There you go.
Very cool.
she'll be
Awesome.
excited to know that you're watching Adventure Time, and just
Yes.
letting you know.
Well,
I
yeah.
we had my wife took pictures at the convention I was at this past weekend. There were two people dressed up as Dipper and Mabel, like the two main characters from Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
And then nope, sorry, back up, Finn. They were dressed up as Finn
Yeah.
and and my wife was like, "Oh my gosh, Adventure Time! My daughter loves that." I just looked at her like, "I'm partial to Fiona and Cake,"
Yeah.
which is like a parallel universe spin-off.
So it's weird. Like it's definitely the incorrect order, but I saw Fiona and Cake first, which is why I'm going back and watching Adventure Time now.
Right.
Yeah.
That was kind of me too. My daughter was watching. I mean, she started watching Adventure Time. Then she started watching Fiona and Cake, and I kind of got interested in Fiona and Cake because, to me, that was the start of like. My daughter's 16.
Yeah. I got Cosmac Grandpa asks, "How old?" My granddaughter's 10, and she's an aspiring artist. Yeah.
Yeah, and
never too young to start.
Yeah.
Right. So I have my 16-year-old, and I think she started when she was 14 doing artwork, and when she was 15 she started tabling with me at conventions. So she'll go to conventions and she'll table and sell her stickers and sketch cards and stuff like that.
Nice.
And now my 14-year-old is like, "Dad, when is it my turn to come to conventions with you so I can start selling sketch cards?" And she actually has like two like binders like this big. I think it's like six per sheet doing sketch cards.
Nice.
That's funny because as a kid I used to go with my dad to do his stuff, but unfortunately it wasn't fun artwork. It was like side jobs, and he used to work on conveyor belts and stuff like that. But I always looked at it as it was some fun time to spend with Dad. So
Right.
you're doing fun things,
share.
having fun with Dad. So that's awesome.
So my 14-year-old did her first digital drawing on my iPad. I don't usually let like the kids touch my iPad, right?
Sure. Oh dang.
That is her. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not too shabby.
No, the color selection's fantastic.
I thought so too, and just like she figured out blending. I don't teach my kids how to use Clip Studio at all, and I was like, you want to learn how to use it? You figure it out. Like you go in there, you test everything out, you do whatever you want. If you have a question about something, then I'll answer your question. But I'm not going to sit there and give you a tutorial because I don't know what aspects you want to use. So, and she did that on her own. Pretty proud of her.
Nice.
But yeah, definitely encourage your kids. Like if that's even a little bit, they go like, "Oh, Dad, can I do this?" Like, yeah, I don't want you on my iPad, but like if you want to draw on a piece of paper, I'll draw on a piece of paper with you. I have several pictures that I've just drawn on my own that I kind of, oh man, I really like that. I'm gonna post that up because I'm gonna use it in something else. And then I have a drawing that I traded with my best friend's son. Like we did an art trade. We both drew Mickey Mouse. He did it his way, I did it my way, and we just traded pieces. You know what I mean? And so that's hanging up too. I got a drawing up here that my 12-year-old did on my wall because she drew a picture of mommy and daddy and whatnot. So tape that up.
Perfect.
Very cool.
Yep, try to inspire my kids, man. If they want to go into art, if they want to be successful as a comic book creator or as an artist in general, like I'm definitely gonna like do my best to push them. And if they see me doing what I love and being successful, then they're gonna want to do the same for themselves as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we will be back next week with something that'll be going back to more of an educational piece, only this time will be me as the instructor, I think. We'll be doing how to market your comics online.
Oh.
So if you don't follow the show, I am the creative director and chief marketing officer for fairly large brand out here, so I'll be using some of my day job expertise on how you can make the most out of search engine and social media marketing for your comics. What works, what doesn't, and kind of how to make the most out of your marketing budget, even if it is only $50 to $100.
Yeah, I think that's definitely to be more your wheelhouse than Jose or my stuff.
So
Dave and I will be taking notes.
Yes. So I'll let Jose and David prepare some questions on thoughts that they've had and things that they want to figure out. And
Right.
I won't be doing anything too in-depth like exploring Meta Ad Center. That is a nightmare by itself, but there is a very nice platform for just doing boosted posts, which are much nicer to use. So all that fun stuff. So we'll be back next time doing that. Make sure to check out Wednesday Wham and Celebrate Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern times on those respective days. We'll be back next week at the same time. So we'll see you then. And until then,
there it is.
Mine's Silverline.
Yeah, fine.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.